Hello, world, and thanks for listening to Master English with Tim, the podcast where Tim teaches you English in depth and detail and without ever hurrying, and where Tim helps you fight the devil in the details and win. Okay, in this week's episode for B1, B2, and C1 students of English, I'm going to tell you all about pronouns. Before I say anything more about pronouns, let me say that I think I might know what you are thinking right now. You might be thinking, wait a minute, my level of English is pretty high and pronouns are pretty basic. I already know everything there is to know about pronouns. But do you know what? When I was writing this episode, I, Tim, had to look up some things myself, and some of the information was new to me. So if some of the information was new to me, it probably also will be new to you. There are lots of types of pronouns, and because there are lots of types of pronouns, there are also lots of terms or names for the different types of pronouns. So I suggest that you listen to this episode in pieces, maybe 5 minutes today, 10 tomorrow, and so on, until you are done. Don't try to do all of it at once. It's too much. Believe me, I'm telling you that as the person who wrote this episode and recorded it. It's a lot. Okay, so what are pronouns? Pronouns are words that we use instead of nouns. In other words, pronouns replace nouns. So imagine that we're going to have a conversation about two people, a man named Tom and a woman named Elma. It would be kind of strange to say these people's names, Tom and Elma, 10 or 20 times in the same conversation. So instead, we replace the noun Tom with the pronoun he and the noun Elma with the pronoun she. And that is why we have pronouns, so we don't have to repeat nouns all the time. And by the way, that is also why the name for this class or category of words is pronoun. In Latin, pro meant for, and so a pronoun is a word that we use for a noun or instead of a noun. So some of the most common pronouns in English are I, you, she, he, it, we, and they, and also me, you, her, him, it, us, and them. But we also have lots of other pronouns like this, each other, one, yourself, and yourselves, and a lot more besides. In fact, during this episode, I am going to talk about 8 categories of pronouns. 8 is a lot, but I do need to say that there just isn't enough time to cover every pronoun and every category. In any case, 8 is a lot of categories, so let's get started. The first 2 categories of pronouns are subject pronouns and object pronouns. If you want to understand what subject and object pronouns are, then you really need to know what subjects are and what both types of objects are. Those 2 types of object are direct objects and indirect objects. If you have any question, and I mean really any question or doubt about what a subject is, what a direct object is, or what an indirect object is, then stop listening to this episode right now and listen instead first to episode 94, Direct versus Indirect Objects. I'm going to use the expressions direct object and indirect object for really the rest of this episode, so you need to understand those terms well. So let's get started with the subject pronouns. These are words that you already know. I, you, she, he, it, we, and they, and also one. We will talk about one separately a bit later. Actually, among the subject pronouns, there is one that deserves special attention. That pronoun is it. It has 6 meanings. Let's review those meanings now. The first meaning of it is for talking about time. This could be time of day, or which day of the week it is, or what month, or what year. 3 examples. 1. It's 3 o'clock. 2. It's Wednesday. 3rd and last. I can't believe it's already December. Okay, the second meaning of it is for talking about weather and the environment around us. 3 examples. 1. It's really hot today. 2. It's too bright. Can you please turn off one of the lights? 3rd and last. It's too windy to go on a bike ride. Okay, the third meaning of it is to talk about physical objects and also materials. 3 examples. 1. We tried to move the piano, but it was too heavy. 2. Did you bring your phone? No, it's on the table. I'll go get it. Third and last. Who made this soup? It tastes amazing. Okay, the fourth meaning of it is to talk about small babies. Small babies, of course, are already very small boys or very small girls, but not in an obvious way. If you look at a baby that's a couple weeks or months old, you can't tell if the baby is a boy or a girl. So sometimes people use it to talk about these very small babies. I do want to underline that if you know the sex of a baby, then you can use he or she also. So, one example of it for talking about small babies. First and last. Your baby is so cute. How old is it? Okay, the fifth meaning of it is to talk about animals. Look at that dog. It's almost a meter tall. 2. What is your bird's name? It's called Douglas. Third and last. I'm in the office and won't be home till late. I'm worried about my cat. It needs to eat. Can you feed it? Sure I can. The sixth and last function of it is that we use it as a subject of a sentence when there is no subject that's obvious. English sentences need to have a subject, and sometimes we just don't have an obvious one, and in those cases, we just add the pronoun it. 3 examples. 1. It's important to drink enough water when you exercise. 2. It's crazy that she was able to learn Chinese so quickly. Third and last. Don't you think it's strange that he moved to another city without saying goodbye to anyone? Okay, that is everything you need to know about subject pronouns. Each of the subject pronouns are I, you, she, he, it, we, and they. Each of these subject pronouns has an object pronoun that corresponds to it. We can use object pronouns as direct objects and as indirect objects. Sometimes the subject and object pronouns are different from each other, and sometimes they're the same. So now I will tell you the subject pronouns again, and after each one I will tell you the corresponding object pronoun. So subject pronoun I, object pronoun me. Subject pronoun you, object pronoun also you. She, her, he, him, it, we, us, they, them. So we have 2 other uses for object pronouns. The first is that we use them after prepositions. 3 examples. 1. Why do you know Natalia? Oh, I sat next to her when we were in school. 2. Please stop talking about me behind my back. Third and last. Where are David and James? Oh, I'm with them now. Okay, so the final use of object pronouns is when we want to say who is present or who is there. 3 examples with context. 1. Context. Jason has come home, but he doesn't have his key. He knocks on the door, and his roommate doesn't let him in. Example. Who's there? It's me. Please open the door. 2. Context. You are at the bus station to go on a trip with your friends. The bus leaves in 5 minutes, but your friends haven't come yet. So, example. Look, it's them. I was afraid they wouldn't come. So them, that's your friends. Third and last. You are sitting with a friend in a park, and you see someone who looks like your old friend Claire, who you haven't seen in years. The person walks closer. So here's your example. Yes, it is her. Let's say hello to her. Okay, I need to give you an important note. The use of object pronouns that I have just given you is considered incorrect by a lot of grammar textbooks. They will tell you that the correct thing to say is, open the door, it is I. But in reality, absolutely no one talks like this. If you ever encounter that rule, ignore it. Okay, subject and object pronouns maybe seem pretty simple overall, but there are 2 subject pronouns and object pronouns that deserve more attention. So instead of telling you what they are, let me start by asking you a question. If you have more than one physical object, for example, 10 pens, and you want to talk about those pens, should you say it or they? So the answer is they and them, not it. 3 examples. 1. Do you have the cookies? Yes, I have them in the car. So them refers to the cookies. 2. Where are the keys? They are on the desk. Third and last. What did you do with your old books? I read them and then I sold them. Okay, now we are almost completely done with subject pronouns and object pronouns. The only thing I still need to tell you about those two categories is that if we take the two categories together, subject pronouns and object pronouns, and we think of them as one category, we can call that big category personal pronouns. We do have a few more pronouns that we use to talk about people, but we don't use them to talk about specific people. These pronouns are anybody and anyone, nobody and no one, somebody and someone, everybody, and everyone. Okay, I need to ask you a question about everybody and everyone. Is it correct to say everybody like pizza or everybody likes pizza? So the correct answer is everybody likes pizza with an S. That might seem irrational because everybody seems like it should be plural. But in reality, it talks about a single group of people, a group. So we use the same verb forms as with he, she, and it. So it's one group. Of course, there are many people in the group, but it's still one group. So we use the S ending. And now we're ready for our third category of pronouns, which is impersonal pronouns. That is not personal pronouns. These are pronouns that talk about a person or people in general. The impersonal pronouns in English are one, you, and they. All three of these are used almost always as subjects and very rarely, if ever, as objects. Let's start with one, which we use to talk about people in general or all people. 3 examples. 1. One needs to think of others when one makes a decision. 2. One should not post personal information about others in social media. Third and last. One becomes tired of hearing others complain all the time. Okay, so we have a few notes about one before we continue with something else. First, one is rarely used by speakers of North American English, but it is sometimes used by speakers of British English. Second, even for British speakers, one is a little bit uncommon and sounds a bit old-fashioned. Third, when you use the impersonal pronoun one, you need to put the S or ES ending on the verb, the same one that you use with he, she, it, and also everybody and everyone. Our next impersonal pronoun is you. It has the exact same meaning here as one. We use it to talk about everyone or people in general. 3 examples. 1. You need to study a long time to become a doctor. 2. If you want people to respect you, you need to respect them. Third and last. You just can't believe the news these days. So many strange things are happening in the world. Okay, our final impersonal pronoun is they. You can use they in 2 different ways. You can use it to talk about one or more than one person when we don't know who that person is or who those people are. 3 examples. 1. They say we're going to have a rainy summer. 2. They broke into my car while I was at work. In that case, it's really unclear who said it, or who did the action. Third and last, they canceled the festival because of rain. Second, you can use they to talk about a specific group of people without giving detail about who you're talking about. 3 examples. They don't work on Fridays in Muslim countries. 2. They drive on the left in Australia. Third and last, they work very long hours in South Korea. So some people also use this meaning of they to talk about conspiracies or plans, secret plans created by terrible people who just want to destroy the good people in the world. In these situations, we will never find out who they is. It's just some really powerful and bad people, probably in the government. 3 examples of this specific type of use of they. So, 1. Of course they don't want you to know that aliens are visiting us from other planets. So who's they? Totally unclear. 2. They want us all to believe that different countries are fighting with each other, but really they're all working together and getting rich. Again, totally unclear who it is. Probably you're talking about somebody high up in the government, or maybe Freemasons, who knows. Third and last, they own all the news media and can make us believe whatever they want. Okay, let's go to our fourth category of pronouns, reflexive pronouns. The reflexive pronouns are myself, yourself, that's singular, yourselves, that's plural, herself, himself, itself, ourselves, themselves, and also oneself, which, like the impersonal pronoun one, is used mainly by British speakers and not very often. We use reflexive pronouns in 4 different ways. The first and probably most common use for reflexive pronouns is when the person who does an action also receives the same action. For example, if Amy sees herself in the mirror, then Amy does the action of seeing and she also receives that same action. So in this case, the reflexive pronoun herself is a direct object. Now I'll give you 3 examples of reflexive pronouns as direct objects. 1. They know themselves well. 2. She hurt herself when she was working in the garage. Third and last. I understood I needed to sleep when I saw myself in the mirror. Okay, we've now seen reflexive pronouns in use as direct objects, but we can also use them as indirect objects, which is their second use. 3 examples. 1. She sent herself an email. 2. He told himself to stay calm. Third and last. They bought themselves a nice vacation. Okay, in the third situation, we use reflexive pronouns to say that a person does an action without getting help from another person. 3 examples. 1. She can do it herself. 2. He learned to drive a car himself. Third and last. I do everything myself without anyone's help. Okay, in the fourth and last use of reflexive pronouns, we use them with the preposition by to say that someone did an action alone. We're not talking about with or without help. We're saying that the person did this action without other people present. 3 examples. 1. I hate eating by myself. 2. She spends a lot of time by herself. Third and last. Did you spend the whole weekend by yourself? Okay, I do want to remind you about one thing before we finish with reflexive pronouns. Yourself is singular and yourselves is plural. Both of these, yourself and yourselves, can be used as direct objects, indirect objects, to say that a person does an action without help, and with by to say that a person does an action alone. So 4 examples now, 1 for each meaning. Each example is in the singular and then in the plural. 1. You will hurt yourself if you exercise too much. You will hurt yourselves if you exercise too much. 2. Send yourself an email so you don't forget. Send yourselves an email so you don't forget. 3. Did you really learn German yourself? Did you really learn German yourselves? Fourth and last. Are you by yourself? Are you by yourselves? Okay, that's all we need to say about reflexive pronouns. The 5th category of pronouns is reciprocal pronouns. If an action is reciprocal, it means that person A does the action to person B, and that person B also does the same action to person A. So A does it to B, B does it to A. So English has 2 reciprocal pronouns. One is each other, and the other is one another. Both of these pronouns mean exactly the same thing. Each other is more commonly used nowadays, but you can still hear one another sometimes too. Both of these reciprocal pronouns can be used as direct objects and as indirect objects. Now I'll read you 3 examples. 1. We don't know each other. 2. We still write to each other every Christmas. Third and last. I hated her and she hated me as soon as we saw one another. Okay, we have a few more categories of pronouns. We have relative pronouns, which is our 6th category. Relative pronouns are pronouns that we use to connect 2 different parts of a sentence. The relative pronouns are which, who, what, whoever, and that. I'll give you just 2 examples and then point out an important grammatical detail about the examples. 1. That's the guy who I met at the party last week. 2. Tell me which flavor you like most. Alright, so the detail that I wanted to point out about those 2 sentences is that we construct the part of the sentence after the relative pronoun not like a question, but instead like a statement or fact. It is not correct to say, for example, I don't know what does he think about our plan. That is the construction of a question. It's not right. Instead, it's correct to say, I don't know what he thinks about our plan. So 3 more examples. Pay attention to the fact that we use the construction of a statement and not a question. 1. Is that the restaurant that you told me not to eat at? 2. I don't know which plan is better, so let's flip a coin to decide. Third and last, did you ever find out who was sending you strange love letters? All right, now we're ready for our 7th category of pronouns, possessive pronouns. We use possessive pronouns to talk about something that belongs to a person. I'll tell you the possessive pronouns now. Mine, yours, hers, his, its, ours, and theirs. If something belongs to me, it's mine. If something belongs to you, it's yours. If something belongs to Michelle, it's hers. If something belongs to James, it's his. If something belongs to us, it's ours. And if something belongs to them, it's theirs. Now, let me give you 6 examples, one for each possessive pronoun except for its, which is not very common. 1. Whose car is that? It's mine. Do you want me to park it somewhere else? 2. My bike doesn't work. Can I please borrow yours just for today? 3. Is that Leah's backpack? Yes, it's hers. 4. My suit is dirty, so I have to wear someone else's. My dad told me I could wear his. 5. You can't take that. It's ours. 6th and last. What's the difference between your product and theirs? Well, theirs is more expensive. Okay, so possessive pronouns probably seem pretty basic, and indeed, that's not wrong. However, we do have 2 more words that are possessive pronouns that are a bit more advanced. Those 2 words are ones, that's with an apostrophe, so O-N-E apostrophe S, and comes from the impersonal pronoun one that we talked about earlier. One example, first and last. One should respect one's parents. Okay, the final possessive pronoun is whose. Whose is usually an adjective, like in the sentence, whose car is that? But if we use whose without a noun after it, then it's a possessive pronoun. That is the case in the sentence, whose is that? So the pronoun whose in the sentence, whose is that, could talk about a lot of different things. Car, book, boyfriend, cat, horse, airplane, idea, and so on. We have a final category of pronouns. This category is the demonstrative pronouns. We have 4 of them. This, that, these, and those. Actually, this, that, these, and those can all be adjectives also. They are adjectives if we have a noun after them, and they are pronouns if we don't have a noun after them. Let's start by talking about this. This is singular, and we use it to talk about someone or something that is nearby, typically within arm's reach. 3 examples of this. 1. Tim, this is George. George, this is Tim. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. 2. This is the key to your room. Don't lose it. 3rd and last. What is this? It's a souvenir I brought back from Mexico. So in this case, the person who says, what is this, is probably holding the souvenir in her or his hand. Okay, now let's talk about that. That is also singular, but we use it to talk about things that are farther away, farther than arm's reach. 3 examples. 1. That is the biggest pizza I've ever seen. 2. Is that our Uber driving down the street towards us? 3rd and last. That is a really beautiful painting. So this is singular, and it's about things close to us. That is plural, and it's about things close to us. So the difference between this and that might seem really simple, but the difference becomes more complicated when we're talking about non-physical things like ideas or situations. I mean, an idea or a situation can't be close to you in the same way that a book can. If we say this about an idea, it sounds like the idea belongs to the speaker. If this is about a situation, then it sounds like a situation that the speaker is in himself or herself. If we say that about an idea, then the idea belongs to someone other than the speaker. And if we say that about a situation, then the speaker is probably not in that situation. This is not an easy thing to demonstrate in a handful of examples, so I will come back to this point in a future episode. Alright, now we can talk about plurals. These is a plural pronoun, and we use it to talk about more than one thing that is nearby. 3 examples. 1. These are really delicious chocolates. Where did you get them? So in this case, the person is probably eating the chocolates or holding them in their hand. Remember that I said nearby. 2. Are these drawings yours? So again, the speaker is probably holding the drawings. 3rd and last. These are too expensive. Let's buy something else. Okay, and finally we have those. Those is plural, and we use it to talk about more than one thing that is farther away than arm's reach. 3 examples. 1. Those are not fresh. Let's buy different ones. 2. Are those your friends over there? No, I don't know them. 3rd and last. Those are really good chocolates. Where did you get them? So in this case, the speaker is probably not holding the chocolates. Okay, so before we finish for the day, let's summarize this, that, these, and those. This is singular and is for things within arm's reach. That is singular and is for things outside arm's reach. These is plural and is for things within arm's reach. Those is plural and is for things outside arm's reach. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening. I really appreciate every one of you. See you next Monday.